So in this video, I'm going to attempt to show you how you can modify some of the existing libraries and turn them into custom, turn some of the parts that already exist into some customized versions of those parts. So to make all of this work, the first thing you have to do is have your library open. So we've been using this LS parts library. I'm going to open it up. It has the two parts that we created from scratch. And then I'm just going to leave it open. I'm going to minimize it here. And then I want to go to the internal libraries. And there's several library folders here. Notice I'm in the control panel. I'm not in the schematic editor. I'm in the control panel. And there's actually nothing in what we call the user library because we're choosing to keep our libraries in our project folder. This is a new thing, a shared folder. I haven't explored it yet, but this is the big one. It accesses, it's called Managed Libraries. It accesses all the standard libraries you've looked at in the schematic package. And you can open these up, but they don't look exactly like what you see in the schematic editor because it's broken down into footprints and symbols and devices, and you can look at any piece or group of pieces you want. So I'm going to go to the RLC library. That's what I want to do. Here it is. I've opened it up, and notice you have this device option, which brings up something that looks sort of like we've seen before. If you right-click on it, you can see that you have an option to open the library or copy it in to a library. This is the one you want to use because you want to copy it into your open custom library. I don't want to copy the capacitors in. I want to go find a resistor and play around with it a little bit. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to find like footprints to resistors and the symbols for them. So I'm going to do it as two separate actions because if you do it as one, you get a whole bunch of stuff. So if I come down here and I look at these, I can see all the different shapes of resistors. I'll start at the beginning. There's a really small one. I want to use maybe this one isn't bad. This is the 0.75. This is a pretty tight U-shaped resistor on the board. So I'm going to right click and copy that into my library, and there it is. And this is in my LS parts library up here at the top. So this is not, I'm not changing the original that EagleCAD gave us. I'm going to modify a copy of it. I'm going to quickly go back into here, and I'm going to find the symbol type for the resistors because I like the squiggly line thing, and you just have to look and eventually you find it. Oh, actually I'm in footprints here. I can't see that, but I don't need another footprint. What I need is a symbol. So I'm going to close footprints and open symbols, and there's the standard shapes for the different symbols, and somewhere here should be, there it is, that's the one I want. So I'm going to right click and copy that in also, and so I have a US resistor symbol in my parts library, and I have the pad layout for one of the parts. I'm going to modify both of these pieces. You can modify one or neither. I just want to modify it to make it clear that I've changed it in some way. So what can I do with this? I'm going to put a box around these squigglies. Okay, so I've got this here. I want to make it my own. I'm going to draw a line out here. I don't want to make it too big, but let's just put it here. That didn't work. That's right. So I have to get out of that. I'm going to use the Alt key on the keyboard, and that lets me put it anywhere, or almost anywhere. And I am drawing a box. And this is the symbol, so this is going to appear in the schematic editor. It won't appear anywhere else. And that's pretty good. Now I'm going to hit escape, and I've modified that resistor symbol just to prove a point. Okay, I can save this. This is being saved in my custom library. I'm going to go over to the packages, or the footprints, and pull up the footprint here, and that's the standard resistor one. But we've talked previously about the fact that these pads are really too small, so let's make a change. I'm going to right click and show the properties, and the drill hole size, actually, and this one isn't too bad, but let's make the output, or the outside, a fixed dimension, like 66, and apply it, and you can see in the background how it instantly took, and that pad is going to be bigger and easier to solder to. I can change the shape of the pads. The octagon is fine, so I'm going to leave it there, but just to make a point, we have these long pads. I can apply it, and let me get this out of here so you can see what it looks like. You can create something that looks like that, which gives you a lot more space to solder to if you need it. So I'm going to Control Z and go back one. I'm going to go over to the second pad, do the same thing, go to I think the 66, and apply it, and there it is. A good thing to do in modifying symbols, if the part is polarized, is to put a plus sign somewhere and maybe make one pad a different shape. So those are all options. I'm going to save that, and I don't have a part yet until I actually create what's called a device, and I can do that by just selecting device here, or I can go back to this book form and create a device. Doesn't matter. I'm going to call this a 1/4 watt resistor. Okay, say OK, and it pulls this thing up, and if you'll recall, we need to put something in here, we need to put something here, and then connect the dots. So I'm going to do that quickly. Add a part. There's our new symbol. Say OK, and it's pretty small. And again, we can choose the name here by typing in this field, or let's just let it choose it. It's called it a G1. I could have called it an R1. A lot of options here. That's all I needed from there. Get out of that. I'm actually going to change the name here and call it R1, because I'd rather have the R's appear. Say OK. When you actually place this part in Eagle, it'll change this name and go R2, R3, R4. Okay, we're good there. Let's get out of this. To load in the footprint, I have to say new from the local. There it is. Say OK. And there's our new part. See the oversized pads? And I have to connect the dots. And I think we can go just connect them as is. 1 to 1, 2 to 2. Say OK. Hit save, and I've got a new part. I'm going to do one more step, which is fix the description. My custom resistor, you spell that right, resistor with large pads. Say OK. Now that'll come up when we search the libraries, and that's how you do it. So save, and again, real quick, this isn't available to the schematic until you go into the schematic system and bring up the schematic here and actually do library update. And now I can search for this part. It is in the LS parts library, because that's what I'm calling this. And there it is, quarter watt resistor, exactly as I had it. And I can place it, I can rotate it. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Use the old part name. We'll have to work on that. Simple trick is to use the ability up here to change it. You can use the tool here to do it and call it R1, and now it's R1. And if I use the copy tool, I think this will work. When I make the copies, notice how it incremented to R2. So you've got workarounds to all the little difficulties we've come up with. That's how you modify an existing part. Good luck. Hi again. I had another thought after completing the last little video, and that has to do with when you're bringing in parts, especially when you're bringing in complete parts that you want to modify. There's a special thing you have to do, and I'll try to keep this short. So I just randomly pulled this part up, and we're going to copy it into the library. I think I might have already done that. Yeah, here. So I've already copied it into my LS Parts library. Again, you do that by right-clicking on the part in the control panel and copy into library. But I've done that. So you come over here, and here's the pieces. And I want to show you something. When you go in, and let's just say the manufacturer came out with a new version of this. It's no longer in a 16-pin package. It's in a 14-pin package. So what we want to do is get rid of these last two pins. What would that entail? Well, those last two pins are pins 8 and 9 here, so they got rid of some functionality. It doesn't matter what they got rid of, but you're just changing part of it, keeping some of it. When you go to try to do that, and you come here to the footprint, and we look up this DIL part, because that's what it says it is. Here's their part. If I just want to move a pin, it's no big deal. I hit it and I move it. But if I actually want to delete that pin, it doesn't like it. It comes up and says can't delete it because it's in use. And that's true for all of these. So the problem has to be rectified back here in the device editor. Here's the part in the device editor, and I need to disconnect either all or at least the pins that I want to get rid of. So if I want to get rid of the pins 8 and 9 here, for example, then I need to find them here and delete them. Not delete them, but disconnect them. I'm going to disconnect all of them because I'll explain in a minute that in fact only disconnecting 2 causes another issue. But notice I've disconnected it. The editor is complaining. It's got a little exclamation point saying it's not a complete part, but that's okay. I'm going to go over here to the symbol thing and pull up that package, and here it is. And now I can delete stuff. And so I'm going to delete that one and that one, and see how easy it was. And then I can go back. I could also move this line in, but I'm going to stop and think about what I just did first. And if I think about the pin numbering, I now have pins 1 through 7, which is fine on this side. A 14-pin IC would have that. but you want 8 to start here and go to 14. If I look at what these pads are, though, they're still the old pad numbers, 10 through 16. I could leave that, but then when I look at the schematic and it puts these pin numbers on, they're going to be wrong, because there is no pin 16 on a 14-pin part. So I really need to rethink what I just did. I'm going to Control Z that, put those two back. What I need to do is remove the last two, pin 16 and 15, and then move all of these down. And I'm going to try a group move. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's not so successful. Let's do there, and then I'm going to grab one of them, and look at that, it actually worked this time. And then what I need to do is move this part, or this pin, pin 8, over to its new position. And that correctly leaves all of the pads with the right pin numbers. And I can check that with the eyeball tool and see that that one is actually pad 14. This one is actually 8. And the 1 through 7 we didn't change. I would then maybe move this line in, make any other corrections I want to make, save it, and then go back into the device tool. Let's save it here, and the device tool, and it was this part. And notice it's got the 7 on a side version, the 14-pin version here. I should have renamed this. Actually, let me go back and do that because it's not hard. Calling it DIL 16, but really we want to rename the part. So to rename a part, I come up here to the library, because we're in the library piece, and we're going to rename, and in this case it's the DIL part. So we're going to call it DIL 14, because it's a 14-pinner now, and do that. And now when I save this, it'll be updated in the device library, and see it says DIL 14, which matches the pin count. I just need to go in here, reconnect all the pins. I do the same thing. Actually, before I do this, I need to go into here and remove the 2 pins that are no longer in the new package. And I could rename that again, and then come in here and reconnect it. And I've shown you that many times. So it is possible to make substantial changes to complete devices, but if you're going to remove parts or add new pins, you're going to have to play with this connection tool until it allows you to do it, and then save it again. Good luck.